What it is, my Tinno, Peace and Grease here, and today we're talking about pet MOAs. With the Fortuna update, we got these little dudes, the pet MOAs. So you're probably wondering the same thing I was when I started this endeavor, which is, which one should you build? Which one shouldn't you build? Are they worth the standing to build? I aim to answer all those questions and more. So there are three basic models, but understand as we jump into this, I am not going to spend any kind of time actually talking about the MOA's resilience, their armor, health, or shield rating, because depending on how you personally build them and with which parts, this could differ drastically. So I'm not even going to bother covering that. What I am going to cover is the three models, the actual identifier of each MOA. So with Fortuna, we got the Lambao Pet MOA, as well as the Para MOA and the Alluro MOA. So starting first thing first, let's talk about the Lambao. Now the Lambao's preset mods are the mods I use the absolute most. And the Lambao MOA comes with the preset mods of Shockwave Actuators and Stasis Field. So let's tackle Shockwave Actuators first. Now basically all that Shockwave Actuators does is allow your pet MOA to stomp like any other typical MOA. Now on a side note, I do think that the range on this needs to be improved, but that's neither here nor there. On the bright side, while it may sound simple, it just lets your MOA stomp, right? It is so utterly satisfying. I cannot explain to you how satisfying when you're in a Corpus mission and MOAs run up to you and your pet MOA stomps them out, and you're just like, yes, how do you like it? You guys know what I'm talking about. We have all at some point been knocked on our ass by a MOA stomping us out. It's happened to all of you, admit it. And it's just satisfying to see your MOA do to them, and it's like, yeah, how do you like it? Anyway, but I digress. The only way that this really works well is if you have enemies mobbing you, say like the Infested. If you have enemies hiding behind cover, hitting you with ranged weapons, yeah, it's kind of defeated. It's, yeah, no help at all at that point. That brings us to the next preset mod, the Stasis Field. Now, the Stasis Field actually allows your MOA to pop a bubble, right? And it actually reduces the speed of enemy projectiles by like 90% and reduces damage they deal by 60%. That's awesome, right? It's like a free bubble. It's like a free mini, not as effective frost bubble. Like, and I will tell you, out of all the MOA's precepts, this is the precept mod I use the absolute most. I just, why wouldn't you use it? It's excellent to have, particularly in the case if you're running a squishy frame. You get yourself in a sticky situation, you quickly duck into the bubble, you recoup, and then you get back at it, right? It's wonderful. It is. It really is nice to have. So with the Lambao discussed, let's talk about the next one, the Para. Now the Para is more of an offensive type of MOA. It comes with the two preset mods of Anti-Grav Grenade and Whiplash Mine. So what Anti-Grav Grenade does, it's kind of self-explanatory, but basically it'll drop a grenade that will actually lift enemies in a 3-meter radius straight up in the air and suspend them there. And they will take additional damage while they're actually suspended. The next one is Whiplash Mine. Now, Whiplash Mine is very similar to kind of like the Secura Penta or the Penta augment that you get from Index called Tether Grenades. And what Whiplash Mine does is your MOA will periodically drop a mine, tether enemies that are within 20 meters after 3 seconds. If they're still within range, it will actually yank them back to the actual mine. So, yeah, the same problem that exists with Vobin's kit in regards to mines and grenades. Guys, yeah, same problem here. They don't deal enough damage. They don't cover enough area. Yeah, same kind of problem. They're very Vobin-esque in that regard. So with that said, we talked about the Para. Let's talk about the Alluro. So the Alluro. Now the Alluro is more of your tech MOA. It comes with the precept mods of Security Override and Tractor Beam. Now Tractor Beam, if you were crazy about mobility mods, if you go hog wild on mobility mods, you are going to want the Alluro MOA just for the Tractor Beam Precept mod, because this gives you plus 100% to aim glide duration. Yeah, you can aim glide your ass off for an eternity, right? And it also gives you minus 50% gravity. Now, if you're wondering, what is that? What are we talking about with gravity? Okay, well, if you've ever used Zephyr or Zephyr Prime, if you ever notice when you jump how the Zephyr feels very floaty. That's a technical term, by the way, floaty. That's what the reduction in gravity is. Now, this mod does not give you that extreme reduction of gravity, as in the case of Zephyr or Zephyr Prime, but it is definitely noticeable with the Tractor Beam Precept mod. That brings us to the Security Override Precept mod. Now, the Security Override Precept mod allows your Alluro MOA to just like insta-hack, like auto-hack anything around you that's hackable. And it does it within like 2 seconds. Like just that quick, just that easy. Doesn't cost you any ciphers, doesn't cost you anything. It just auto-hacks everything. In fact, I was running a mission the other day with this MOA, and I had downed a couple of bursas. Wasn't paying attention, and next thing I know, I'm hearing the bursas restart, and it's because the Alluro just ran by and said, "Oh, look, something to hack," and just literally hacked them back up again. And it's like, okay. So yeah, that's definitely, for some people, for some players, it's going to be a really good mod to have, really good MOA to have. But there is a kicker on this Precept mod, and that is that after a hack, your Alluro MOA has a 30% chance to control other basic robotic enemies. This is going to consist of some turrets, some ospreys, some of your more basic MOAs. But there is a singular stipulation. It's after hacking. That's really the problem here. Now, why is that a problem? Well, because even if you played Warframe for a short period of time, we all follow the same standard operating procedures. You go into an area, oh look, there's something we have to hack, and you absolutely obliterate everything within like 300 freaking meters and, 3 generations. you wipe everything out, and then you hack. Why is that? Well, you guys already know the answer, but I'll provide it anyway, and that is so that you can safely hack without being shot in the ass, right? Like, again, standard operating procedure. So, applying that procedure to this Precept mod, if you get a 30% chance to hack in a 30-meter radius for 14 seconds, basic robotic enemies, after the hack, what is there to control? You have literally obliterated everything in 300-meter range. So, yeah. Now, I think this is an easy fix. If DE just takes that little stipulation of after hacking out, and it just makes it random, so that your Alluro will just kind of wander around and have a 30% chance to control other basic robotic enemies. Problem solved. And I think it would make it far more usable. So, what players are going to be drawn to these MOAs, right? Well, in the case of the Lambao, if you run a lot of defense missions, like, why wouldn't you have the Lambao? Like, why wouldn't you? I mean, it is literally a free bubble. Like, why wouldn't you have that? Again, if you run a lot of defense missions or missions where enemies are constantly mobbing you, shockwave actuators does come in handy. But why wouldn't you have stasis field? Like, to me, yeah. Out of all the pet MOAs, this Precept mod I use the absolute most, because it's wonderful to have. It's really nice to have just in case of emergencies. You take some damage, you get yourself in a sticky situation, whoopsies, you jump into a bubble, recoup, and get back at it again. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So Lambao, I could see players that run a lot of defense being drawn to this particular MOA. And that brings us to the para. What type of players are going to run the para? Well, the only two that I can really think of are players that just absolutely adore memes because, yeah, that's a thing. Or Vobin mains. Because, Vobin mains are going to be like, if 2,000 grenades and mines are good, then, another 1,000 with a pet MOA is even better. So I can definitely see some Vobin mains being like, yeah, what? More grenades and mines? Sign me up. So, yeah, I can definitely kind of see that being a thing as well. And then finally, the Alluro. Who is the Alluro MOA going to appeal to? Well, there's going to be two types of players. The players that are absolutely crazy about mobility mods, that absolutely want them all and want them all equipped at once, they're going to want this MOA just for this, nothing more than this Precept mod. And then with the security override, I can definitely see a lot of newer players wanting this MOA. Now you may be saying, but Peace, why newer players? Well, if you're an experienced player in Warframe, you probably hacked everything that is potentially hackable in the game of Warframe numerous times, and you probably have a metric ton of ciphers, so you don't care about the fact that your MOA is going to hack stuff. Hacking is not a big deal to you. If you're an experienced player, you've learned how to hack, you're comfortable with it, and you can hack quickly. So this isn't a thing for you. Newer players, if you remember, no matter how long you've been in the game, if you recall when you first came into Warframe, you probably hated hacking. You were uncomfortable with it, you weren't quick at it, and you probably failed a few. The Alluro removes hacking from your life. So I can definitely see a lot of newer players liking this particular MOA. With that said, I word of caution, the same caution warning I give about ciphers, I have to give about the Alluro, which is do not crutch them. It's very easy to get so hung up always using ciphers or always using Alluros that you're going to find yourself in a situation where, that clutch situation, where you have to hack. And if you never got comfortable with it, you never got quick at it, never got good at it, yeah, that's a potential fail. So yeah, don't crutch this, but it is a tool for people, newer players that just can't stand it and are really, really bad at it. It is definitely an option. So what's my verdict on pet MOAs exactly? Oh, and before I give you my verdict, something to keep in mind, the precept mods are interchangeable. If you're wondering, you know, Peace, I don't like the way if you're anything like me, I don't like the way the Lambao looks, but I like the Lambao's precept mods. I wish the Lambao looked like the Alluro, for example. Well, the good news is you can actually swap precept mods between all of the MOAs. As long as you have the precept mods, that's all that's required. So let's say I like the look of the Alluro, but I want the stasis field of the Lambao. I can throw that in here on tractor beam, and let's say I want, as an example, let's say I want shockwave actuators on the Alluro as well. You can swap these precept mods between all of the MOAs. Now, you cannot equip all 6 precept mods on one MOA. That would be crazy if you could, though. I mean, I would like to see that like just once, like all 6 precept mods on one MOA. Like that would be freaking hilarious. But I digress. You can equip 2 precept mods of your choice. 2. All right, just 2. Not 3, not 4, not 6. 2. Any of them you choose. As you can see here, I literally equipped the Lambao's precept mods on the Alluro. All right, so you can swap them any way that you see fit, any way that you prefer. So I now have a Lambao in precept mods, but the appearance of the Alluro. So yeah. So what's my final verdict on these pet MOAs? What do I think? Well, I'll put it to you this way. For a long time in the game of Warframe, a lot of our companions have been needing a buff. Our Sentinels, our Kavats, our Kubros, our Helmet Chargers, they've all needed a buff to bring them up to the current level of content within the game of Warframe. When you look at the content that we currently have in Warframe, such as ESO, Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, the RBs, the arbitrations, even just the sorties or staying in missions for an extremely long period of time. Unfortunately, pet MOAs are not going to give you any advantage in this regard. Your pet MOA is going to be one-shot just as easily as your Sentinels, just as easily as your Kubros and Kavats, and so on and so forth. The pet MOAs are yet another companion that can be heaped upon the pile of companions, which is all of them, by the way, that need a buff. Now, I had really hoped with Fortuna, either prior to or with Fortuna, the pre-existing companions would have gotten a buff, and the pet MOAs would have simply came out with that buff. Unfortunately, it has not happened. Hopefully, though, DE is working on that, question mark, and in the very near future, DE will release a patch that will buff our companions, question mark. But yeah, suffice it to say, if you are coming into this thinking that pet MOAs are going to give you some kind of buff versus a Sentinel, yeah, sadly, you're mistaken. If you look at the Alluro here, you're looking at 350 armor, 935 health, and 670 shields. When you compare that to the Carrier Prime, for example, you find out you have 315 armor, 375 shields, and 1280 health. Yeah. So the pet MOAs fall right in line with the Sentinels. Well, some Sentinels, that is. And so, unfortunately, again, like I said, you just heap them on the pile of all the other companions in the game of Warframe that need a buff to bring them in line. So another thing to keep in mind is your weapons on your pet MOAs are your sentinel weapons. So if you any sentinel weapons you have sunk time or forma or you have a ribbon for, you can equip the sentinel weapons onto your MOAs, with the exception being the Deconstructor Prime. As you can see here, I'm running the Sweeper Prime weapon from Carrier Prime on this Alluro. In fact, I'm running it on all of my MOAs. So that is definitely something to watch for, that you need to be ready to equip. So, how are pet MOAs? Should you run them? And the simple answer is they are very, very clunky right now. And I mean very clunky. To give you an example of this, I was running Hydronic the other day, and my pet MOA literally got stuck under the elevator and was there for all 20 waves, stuck under the elevating platform the entire damn time. MOAs are just very clunky, and they get stuck in the weirdest possible locations that you can imagine. I had one stuck on a handrail, like literally would not move. I had another one that was furiously running in circles nonstop in front of a doorway, and it stayed there the entire damn mission. Right? So yeah, the most oddball location possible is where your MOAs tend to get hung up. In the case of the Alluro, for example, it's very stupid when it comes to being able to detect a hackable terminal. Literally, I have been standing 3 meters away from a hackable terminal, and my MOA, Alluro MOA, is completely and totally oblivious to that terminal. And I find myself having to dog leash that Alluro MOA kind of towards that terminal before it finally realizes, no, looky here, there's a hackable terminal I've been standing next to for the past 20 minutes. Yeah, very clunky right now. Very, very clunky. Hopefully, DE is going to improve this and get rid of some of this clunkiness in regards to the pet MOAs, because I can pretty much guarantee you more pet MOAs are coming, and if they just kind of leave pet MOAs in this current state, ow, yeah, it's a real mess. So, but anyway, I hope that answers some of the questions for you guys and helps kind of sort some of the information out for you. Let me know down in the comment section below which of these pet MOAs seems the most appealing to you and which one's your favorite. Until next time, peace and grace.